All right, here's another little ProTune tip, and this is how to glue tubulars. All right, so the first step, and I've already done it, is you stretch your tyres. The front wheel's over there, but essentially when the customer brought me his wheels and his tyres, I took them out of the box, put some air in them, and then pulled them evenly. So you start at the valve, you push the valve in, and with either hand, push it and stretch it around onto the rim. Then pump it up to about 80. Any more than 80 and it makes the tyre want to roll. But 80 psi, and preferably leave them for 24 hours. So when I've got a customer who asks, can you glue some tubulars for me? I sort of at least ask for 48 hours because I want 24 hours stretch, and then I want another 24 hours for the glue to set, because the last thing you want is a customer getting on their tyres that are only partially glued and peeling off a tyre and dying, because we don't want anyone to die. Okay, so what I've done is I've got the front wheel over there with the, I've just taken the tyre off, which is here. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to be able to do this with two hands, with one hand, because I'm holding the camera. But essentially what you do, the reason why I'm wearing a glove is I find if you squirt a little bit of glue and then dab it on, and I always start at the valve hole. So you put your glue on, dab some on, and go wipe it around the whole wheel, or you could go round to halfway, and then you could start here again and go round to halfway. Whatever way works best for you. Do the tyre, then come over to the rim and do the rim. Now, I should have said before we start any of this, so this tyre here has got a pretty sort of, exuberant, had a pretty exuberant gluing job in the past. And before I do this, I'm probably going to clean up a lot of this. It doesn't matter if you've got glue on there, but like these strands that are sticking out that are going to look unsightly, and then also if it's got a lot of stuff that isn't going to stick, then you need to remove it. Now, one of the best ways I was taught, or basically the shop that I used to work at, the way they removed the glue was you took your wheel outside with a little seat and a tin of petrol and a rag, and you used the petrol to scrape the rim clean, basically. But it doesn't need to be super clean. It just needs to be fairly smooth and just any loose bits and pieces. I'm not going to glue straight onto this one because it's got a lot of sort of bad glue. Because what'll happen is you'll glue the tyre, but you'll glue it onto this sort of layer here. And if the tyre goes to come off, this layer that, like, I don't know whether you can see, there's bits that just peel off, really. And so, yeah, if it's not glued, and your goal is to glue the tyre to the wheel, because under lateral force, it can cause the tyre to peel off. And if you've ever seen a tubular tyre peel off, it is not good. So that's that. And so what I do, we usually need a few more tubes than this. And ideally we would also have all the same type of glue. Now, this isn't too bad doing it this way. This is carbon specific and this is alloy specific. The main reason is the carbon specific can take a higher temperature before it melts, but it also goes off slower. I think that's right. Or if it's not, it's the other way around. So if you're using this glue, it can take longer for it to set than if you're using the orange. I just remember using the orange glue and getting the rim done 2 coats, and then enough coats. So I'll show you with the tyre, it's got this cloth tape. And when you put the glue on first time, here, I'll see if I can do it with one hand. Nope, that one open. Okay, this one will open. What I'll do, so say I put some glue on there. Nope, this hasn't been busted open. Oh, this is going well. Okay, pop open the tube. There we go. There's our glue. Doesn't matter if we get it over there. Just don't get it on your clothes. All right. So we've got our glue on here, and we're just going to wipe it gently. I'm looking through the camera, not looking at the tyre. But essentially what I've done is I've wiped it up to that edge and up to this edge, and then I'll get some more on my finger and continue. But by the time I get to, say, here, this glue here will have soaked into this base tape. So what you want to do is you want to have enough glue that it fills the base tape, and then you can just put 1 or 2 layers onto the tyre before you fit it. So you could, in fact, do your tyre and get the base tape all soaked up, which can take up to 2 tubes if you wanted a really solid bond, and then fill up your base tape, and then you can go and do your rim and say do 1 layer, then another layer, obviously after you've cleaned it, and then go and put your tyre straight on. And that's why I said that this one goes off quicker than this one. You've got a bit more time between getting your tyre glued up and then go sticking it to the rim, whereas this one almost starts to go off by the time you get round to the other tyre. So that's that. And then when you put it on the tyre, watch getting it on your clothes. You should wear an apron. I'm going to go put my apron on. And then all you really want to do is just, it's easy in a touring stand, but you can do it in your hand, is you've got to twist the tyre so that the cloth here and or the sidewall is even. So like here, for instance, looks pretty good. Here we'd probably have to roll it a bit under because it'll be a bit short on the other side. And you just spin your tyre, see if it's tracking straight and whatever else. It doesn't matter if you get glue like sticking out through here. My magic trick that I like to use is I use wax and grease remover, and that gets it off any build up if you get it on the braking tract like here, anything like that, and it'll clean up the side of your tires. And what sort of job may have been done by a monkey will clean up with wax and grease remover and look like a professional did it. So then once you've got your tire on, so you've evenly stretched it round and you've got it on there, and then you've checked it round to make sure it's centered. Then what I like to do is I put a bit of force and I roll my tire to squeeze out any glue. So I'm squeezing out the glue. I do that with 2 hands on the wheel, and I sort of roll up and down a few times just to sort of, get some force on there. But until these have sat at 80 psi for 24 hours, I don't put any more pressure in them than that. So see how this tyre, if I deflated this, it would actually curl back around, but at 80 psi, it's actually curled itself backwards. This is on the bench, obviously, so there's nothing stopping it from curling back. But 80 psi on a rim, the tyre is trying to do this. It's trying to curl its way back. So if you pump it up to 100 and haven't done a very good job of gluing, yeah, you might end up with a tire that's curled over in areas that you don't want, and blah blah blah. Now, I guess another thing is glue. So I like Continental glue, whether it's the carbon version or the aluminium version. Again, high-end shop I used to work at almost religiously used the aluminium one, even on carbon rims. Most of the stuff we did was carbon rims. But there's lots of other good glues. Vittoria Mastic, and I think there's a Schwalbe glue. But they can't be mixed, as far as I know. I'm going to try and just get away with just using the two black ones. Or maybe I'll use a tube of black on one tyre, a tube of black on the other tyre, and then I'll use the orange on the rim. That would work. But yeah, there's a bit of a shortage of tyre glue at the moment. So that's about that. I guess the only other thing is how strong do you do it? Because there's one side of the coin is people who are performance riders who ride really hard, who nobody wants their tire to peel off. So, absolutely soaking the base tape, 2 tubes per tire, and then another 2 passes on the rim. Or I've seen some people, triathletes, and they just do like a dab, a dab, a dab, a dab, a dab, which I don't agree with. Essentially, I just try and get somewhere in the middle where the tire's got a decent soaking, and I cover the full channel of the rim, but I just don't know. I just try not to use a whole ton of glue so that the tires... So like when you need to remove the tires, like the old tires, sometimes you can just peel them off, which is maybe not the safest thing, but sometimes you have to take the tires and put them in the back of a hot car to loosen the glue, and then you can peel the tires off. And we kind of don't want that, because for people who... So Nathan's doing a triathlon, and he may need to carry a spare. So what we would do for his is we'd glue up the base tape. So that's all ready. He'll have a pre-glued tire all ready to go. And then if he gets a flat, it should be easy enough, because of the amount of glue that I've put on the rim, for him to peel off his tire mid-race, and then stick his spare tubular on the back of his bike. I mean, I have tried like leaving, say, a little bit of a section like this opposite the valve, so you can just get a tire lever in under it, and then you move it left, right, and then you can eventually peel it off that way. But I generally just don't put... I just don't put the massive amount of glue as what they did at the high performance shop I used to work at. In saying that, at that shop we dealt with some pretty high athletes and that kind of thing, some pretty serious sort of riders. So if anyone was going to peel off a tire, it would be those guys. So just bear in mind. And I mean, if you talk to your customer, ask them, hey, are you going to carry a pit stop to, if they get a puncture? A pit stop's like a can of sealant that you can jam into the valve, and it'll fire sealant in there. And if it's a butyl, works really well on Continental tubulars, not necessarily good on Vittoria, because some of them use a latex liner. And pit stop may not stop a puncture in a latex liner. But yeah, just talk to your customer. And then I guess one last thing is, there used to be a really good Zip video on how to glue the tubulars, and they'll probably raise some points which may disagree or clash with what I've said here. So I guess just make up your own mind. I'm not gonna. It's not an exact science. In all honesty, you need to have the tire glued to the rim, but it's how glued to the rim that you do it, and how that affects your customer. Does he need to change his tire halfway through a race? Might steer you in the direction of how you go about it. So there we go. That's gluing tubulars. Yes, I wear gloves now. I used to do this with a shopping bag. I just used to wrap a plastic shopping bag around my finger and get my glue, and I'd wipe it on. And then I discovered latex gloves, and I thought I'd look a bit more like a professional. Those guys who smoke meats and then they slice it and they got their black latex gloves on. Yeah, well, I wanted to feel more like a meat slicer. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, like if you do it differently, let me know. I'm open to discussion about tubulars, and it's a dying art too. The local shop here sends them to me because the kids there don't know how to do it. So it's really not that hard. But yeah, look up the Zip video, have a watch, leave a comment, don't be nasty, and thanks for watching.